welcome back everyone to Lore with Ludus Infinium. Today I have something... Actually, it was a bit interesting for me, not gonna lie. The Blood Angels, the Ninth Legion. And I'm not gonna lie, this one kind of hit home for me. In all kinds of media, I kind of enjoy the protagonist with the demon inside of them. See, for instance, Bleach with Ichigo and the Hollow, or Tokyo Ghoul with Ken Kaneki and his, in, I guess you could argue Rize. For the longest time, I didn't know that much about the Blood Angels. Again, I'm more of a fan of Traitor Legions, but after reading them, I can confidently say they probably became one of my probably top 3 loyalists just on that alone. So let's get into it. The Blood Angels were one of, like all the other legions, part of the first founding. Hey, convenient. So they, before reuniting with Sanguinius, had a couple of interesting habits. I'm not gonna lie. So, all Space Marines have an implant called the homophagia. And essentially what the homophagia is you can eat the tissue of a friend or an enemy and gain some of their memories. Well, the Blood Angels were a little bit different from what I read. Theirs was like a bit hyperactive, I guess you could say. Apologies. The the interesting thing about the Ninth Legion before they became the Blood Angels is when one of their, say, captains would die, his lieutenant would eat him and gain his memories and essentially everything. There was actually one particularly nasty campaign that lasted for 12 years. And the enemy they were fighting also sorry, I just woke up. For those of you who don't know, I just got a full-time job, so I'm doing this in addition to it, so I apologize if I sound tired, and I'm trying to get my thoughts together. So, back to lore. So, they were one of the first expeditions to Kiburin, I guess is the pronunciation of it. And it was under a techno-barbarian warlord, Ekloba. And the interesting thing is, the way the Ninth started off this fight was just out-and-out conflict. And they ended up taking severe casualties and having to retreat. And so, over the course of the remaining approximately 12 years, they fought more guerrilla-style warfare, attacking, smaller settlements, just kind of hitting them where it hurts. And something else that the worlds under Ekloba were well known for was cannibalism. So to take away that resource, the Blood Angels, well, the Ninth Legion did it too. And here's the thing about the Ninth, and I kind of like this. So most of the Space Marine legions recruited from the strongest of the strong. The Ninth did not. They recruited from like the sickest of the sick. This is literally a tale of the Christian tale of Jesus healing the leper. Except instead of Jesus just going up and healing a leper, it's getting implanted with 19 organs surgically, assumedly with no anesthetic, and then be going from like radiation sickness scarred leper to angelic looking Astartes, which was kind of weird reading that for me. I'm not going to lie, because I know that Gene Seed will make the Astartes look similar to their Primarch, but again, examples, especially in the Mournival, where you have Ezekiel Abaddon, Little Horse Axamund, Tarek Trogan, and Garfield Loken all looking different. I didn't think it could have that much of an effect. I was wrong. So they. This is a good example of how they came. How they came to really just scare the shit out of anyone they fought, and some of their allies, to be fair, because there were times they would fight without helmets. Because apparently, if you fight without a helmet, you look beautiful, yet your face is covered with your enemy's last friend. They tend to get a little panicky. So in this campaign, they actually, at the beginning and end, had relatively the same numbers, just due to the way they recruited. Something else they did was their apothecarian. They had their apothecarian kind of change up what they were doing and go from kind of sitting on the sidelines only medical to a combat support unit to I don't even want to say minimize the casualties, because that's bullshit to say in 40k. To lessen the casualties. And also, if I believe they did that for another reason. It wasn't explicitly said, but I think it was also done in the case of if they happen to find, for lack of a better word, civilians, who would make good Astartes candidate, they're gonna be like, you come with us. Now that we have talked about how brutal the Blood Angels, or the Ninth Legion at the time, to be, let's talk about how brutal they could be again. Because this is, again, I love this story. They they have a genetic flaw, and there's two levels to it. There's the Red Thirst, where they go a little berserk, and by a little berserk, I mean they don't stop fighting until the fighting's done. And then the Black. I think it's the Black Death, which was hilarious to me. I really should have wrote this down. I feel bad for not writing this down now. But, so the funny thing about it is, especially the Black Death, and I'm looking now to make sure I'm right in calling it that, is that the, okay, so I can't find it that quickly, but anyway. So the funny thing about it is like I said, with the Red Thirst, the kind of tapers off when the fighting stops. Well, Black Death does never tapers off. They are always berserk. And this has caused a lot of people to look at the Blood Angels with a bit of a sideways glance. And the funny thing about it, quite frankly, is that's part of how Horus tried to corrupt Sanguinius. Because very few people knew, and even very, like, 1, 2, outside of the Blood Angel's name. And one of them was Horus. And he told Sanguinius, there's a planet that might have a cure to this flaw. And Sanguinius doing anything he could to, to free his legion from the cure, took it bait, line, and sinker. And unfortunately, this is what caused the Red Thirst to get worse. Now, what made the Black Death come about is when Sanguinius was killed by Horus at the end of Siege of Terra. And, oh shit, an entire legion having their button turned on at once? I would never want to be anywhere near that. So we've kind of gone through their flaw and their more gruesome aspects. So now let's talk about their combat, which is essentially still more the gruesome aspects. They have two major specializations, and that is deep strike assaults with drop pods and storm birds, and close quarters combat, because of fucking course. Now, the funny thing I found about this is in the campaign against Ekloba, it started by them doing drop pods and just marching straight up and going into full-on combat. This ended up being a kind of a detriment to them. Ended up costing them very heavily. And it's something they kind of learned from, except for the fact that 10,000 years later, they still fucking do it with wild abandon. In fact, that was before they found Sanguinius. If you look at the planet Murder, that's what they did there too. Except they did it slowly. And it cost them all their forces. Saying they learned from it is like I don't even know what it's like saying right now. They did. It really seems like they did. And the last thing I want to go, actually, last two things I want to go over. Something really cool about them specializing in close quarters combat, and I kind of mentioned this before, is imagine these like beautiful, like 7-8 foot tall, just masses of muscle coming at you with gore all over their face. And they hold a big raving vroom vroom. If that doesn't cause you to crap your pants, I don't know what will. So, the last thing I will talk about, actually, is the induction of the Codex Astartes, because Rabute Gilliman literally killed any chance of the Imperium being able to do anything. And I like that there's a quote here from the chapter master of the Flesh Terrors. Rabute Gilliman, Gilliman the Tactician, Gilliman the Warrior. History will remember the Primarch of the Ultramarines by many titles. To us of the blood, he will have only one, Gilliman the Butcher. With law and edict, Gilliman ripped the heart from the legions. Even his own sons were not spared his treachery. Where Horus had sought to use a hammer blow, Gilliman used a duelist's blade. In the end, the result was the same. Brother became cousin. Cousin became exile. Gilliman's new chapter, his new beginning, was a sundering to all that had come before. Stripped of honor and tithe, of history and deed, we were all of us undone, bastards of war and victory. We were angels, no more. And I kind of like this, because even though Sanguinius had just died when Gilliman put up the Codex Astartes, and the Blood Angels were pretty lost, they still went along with it. Kind of begrudgingly, apparently. I never knew that. I never knew that they went along with it begrudgingly. But I guess because they saw it as they had no Primarch, they couldn't really refuse another Primarch. So, Yeah, this was actually very interesting to me. And to know that the Blood Angels kind of saw this almost as treachery. Because if you look at how some of the chapters, even of the same, of the same original Legion, look at each other. Brothers did become cousins, and cousins became exiles. There are some that have absolutely nothing to do with each other. Imperial Fists is actually kind of a good example of some cases like this. Look at, Imperial Fist and Black Templar, for instance. They did not really interact much. So I can look at this and I can kind of appreciate their hatred for the Ultrasmurf. And not because I already don't like the Ultramarines, because their gene seed flaw is plot armor. But I can look at this and you can really see the damage that the Codex Astartes really did to other legions, quite frankly. Well, with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed the video. Come back next week for the 10th Legion, the Iron Hands. Oh, goody goody gumdrops. But again, I hope you enjoyed. If you want to support the channel, you know what YouTube wants you to do. They want you to subscribe, like, leave a comment, all of this good stuff. But the most important thing of all, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye!